It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas and sunrise.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. I'm Anastasia Palatian.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. I'm Philip Simon.
And of course, it's a pleasure to be back in your company. As you know, as long as these 24-hour curfews continue, we will continue to bring you Bahamas at Sunrise from Zoom. And so we're grateful that you've decided to join us for another morning. Phil, how was the weekend lockdown?
This one went by kind of quickly. I really didn't feel it. I didn't do much. And didn't binge watch Netflix like I did the last weekend. It was a really good weekend. I kind of picked up something I hadn't seen in a long time, and I used it, man. I went into
You're
my,
pissed.
you know,
Yeah, I know. Listen, I was telling you from last week Friday, my eyebrows, I got them from my father, and while I miss him very much, I am telling you I never miss these eyebrows, but they are coming back in full effect to remind me that the natural arch is not mine. and certainly I think for a lot of the women, we're going through a lot of growing pains right now. But a friend of mine was saying, for all of you men that always tell us, oh, your natural beauty is so wonderful. We hope that you finally understand how it feels now that you cannot get your hair cut the way that you want to get it cut.
yeah, I'm pretty sure there's some vigorous debates going on in a lot of households about natural beauty right about now. But listen, the Prime Minister's speech yesterday, interesting. It's kind of a reopening, soft opening of sorts of the economy, trying to see how things are going to work. I still get a feeling that a lot of people will be on the road today, but more businesses are open. It's kind of like opening the valve just a little bit,
Yeah, I saw that, and I'm trusting that he is being advised by the right people, and so I'm just hoping that it will work. I certainly see why it needs to happen. So, for example, if a car can be on the road, things can go wrong with the car. Therefore, you need an auto parts store. You need to be able to get a tire change. So that makes sense. And then certainly, if we're going to be doing, I guess, staying in the house, maybe you want to continue with some home improvement projects, and so you open up home centers. I guess my concern though is that that we do things that won't lead to more numbers in the future. And certainly last week's press conference with the Ministry of Health seemed to show that we're putting a dent in that curve. And so I guess that's been the point of these weekend lockdowns. But you also want to just be sure that we're not going to be putting ourselves in jeopardy long term by rushing to do things too quickly. So a great balance that he's having to strike there. And obviously my thoughts and prayers continue to be with him and his cabinet as they make these types of decisions. But happy to hear that things will start to slowly get back to normal in the family island sooner rather than later.
Yeah, no doubt. It's really just a balancing act. I think you said it rightly. We have, it's a learning curve for everybody. Certainly a learning curve for leaders across the world. I think COVID, like the flu, it is a strain of the flu. It's going to be with us, I think, for a long time. And so it's I don't want to say tipping points, but we have to kind of learn how to live with this going forward. And boy, it's so many things. I mean, we've talked about it even on the last couple of shows, the new normal and this whole talk about new world order. I mean, we can have some great conversation here today with, Mr. President, I like to call him Gowan Bo, talking about what's needed in terms of recovery strategy. But listen, we're all learning. It's brand new to us. It's someplace that we've never been before. And, we all have a role to play.
Yeah, we certainly do. But we do want to say a belated happy birthday to the Prime Minister, of course, who celebrated last week. And Phil, you had a special person in your house celebrating too, right?
Oh yeah, Kaylee Kirsten Simon. She celebrated last week. I neglected to say so. She turned 14. Star, it's hard to believe. I mean, you talk about Naja. I mean, of course, you remember when Naja was a baby. Naja's, now 19. Like she said, she's an adult. But
And
Kaylee,
let me just clarify because people may think I'm old because you're saying that I remember these kids as babies. I do remember them much younger. And yes, I do remember Kendall as a baby, but I would like to know that I was also a baby myself. And so let's just put some clarity on that time frame. Thank you. But I cannot believe that Katie's already 14. That is crazy.
14 going on, 35. So happy birthday, Kaylee. Certainly we had a great lockdown celebration, just too much cake actually and pool and just a lot of noise.
Yeah, I'm sure, but I hope that she enjoyed it, and we actually also hope that you will enjoy our show today. As Phil would have mentioned to you, we've got Galvin Bow coming on. He's going to be speaking with us about our recovery strategy, but we're also excited because we're going to have a really interesting and robust discussion with members of the media on the impact of coronavirus in Bahamian people, and so that should be a great segment as well, and we hope that you'll stay tuned for that.
Yeah, no doubt. Doctors Hospital is back. We're talking about telemedicine and virtual medical consultations. Boy, I guess that is going to be a part of the new normal going forward, and we'll ask them all about it. And Providence Law is back with another segment of legal aid. We're going to talk about the legal authority of these emergency powers under Article 29 of the Constitution.
Yeah, that should be a great conversation. Merit always is able to break things down so well. And of course, in addition to that, Minister Pintar joins us this morning from the Ministry of Agriculture. And so that's going to be a great conversation as well as we talk more about food security and what that looks like. So we've got all of that ahead for you and more. Before we get to it, we're going to take a first look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at sunrise. Brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Tarek. Good morning, Bahamas. Yeah, first look at weather sunrise. Weakening high pressure across the islands will move southeastward and make work for a cold front to move into the extreme northwest Bahamas late tonight or tomorrow morning, with some increasing cloudiness, showers, and thunderstorms ahead of the system. We move into Grand Bahama, Abaco, Bimini area tonight, and a few of those will move into New Providence area sometime tomorrow. But today, partly sunny, breezy, very warm, with occasional cloudiness and some showers, isolated thunderstorms over the extreme northwest Bahamas. High temperature 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy and breezy, with a few nighttime showers, isolated thunderstorms, mainly across the northwest Bahamas. Your low temperature going down to 77 degrees Fahrenheit. And some region highs and lows across the Caribbean. Barbados 83 and 76. In Jamaica 84 and 70. Trinidad 87 and 75. And the Turks and Caicos Islands 88 and 76. Across North America, Atlanta 71 to 57. In Raleigh 71 to 56. In Miami 89 and 78. Dallas, Texas 75-57. And Toronto, Canada 44 and 34. As we go through the week, expect that cold front to move into the northwest Bahamas across the Berry Islands. We'll trigger off some showers and thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas, including New Providence, Andros, and Eleuthera on tomorrow. And the central and southeastern I expect partly sunny skies and warm. Those temperatures daytime will be in the upper 80s, low 90s at daytime, at nighttime in the upper 70s. That puts you up in your first look at weather sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Bahamas, the sunrise will be back after this short commercial break.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want first response on your side, call 32-FIRST or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Welcome back to the show. The Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources has been actively implementing its emergency food plan, and of course, they are back once again on Bahamas at sunrise. We're very pleased, and it's a privilege to have the Honorable Minister himself, Michael Pintard, Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, formerly a Minister of Youth. Michael, Minister, I say all the time that these are probably two, if not the two most important ministries in any government. So glad that you are back here on Bahamas at Sunrise talking with us once again. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Good morning. We've had very robust conversation locally as well as internationally about food security, food production amidst this pandemic. How does the government of Bahamas plan exactly to accelerate our own national food production?
Well, we're doing several things, Phil, and permit me first to just also say good morning to all the residents of Grand Bahama, Marco City in particular. Love you. Feel free to give us a call if there are any emergency needs so that we can address them. Yeah. Phil, we have released in the Parliament an emergency action plan which is on the way. We have dispatched to the various family islands, and any island administrator that has not yet received funds, we plan by the end of this week to have the funds delivered there. We engage in what would be the largest expenditure in the history of the country on land clearing. We have funds that have been dispersed to Grand Bahama and Abaco, a part of the emergency action plan plus the post-Dorian relief, so that we can prepare lands so farmers can get on with the business of planting or preparing pastures for their livestock, etc. And we've done the same thing in Central and the Southern Bahamas. And the Prime Minister, in his wisdom, has certainly permitted what we consider in the ministry essential workers to continue to do their work. Agriculturalists are essential workers, and by extension, that includes the fishers. So they can water their plants, tend to their animals. Persons go out on subsistence fishing as well as commercial fishing, of course, obeying the social distancing guidelines and following the medical protocols outlined by the task force. So land clearing is one. The second is we are ordering locally and internationally hydroponic systems. I saw two very impressive systems in the family islands, particularly in South Abaco, and we fell in love with the system. Vertical growing of salad mixes to the bottom, your cauliflowers, cabbages, etc. And we saw after Dorian that persons we delivered items to, seed inputs and assistance. Some of them were ready to harvest some of those items already by the time we came back a couple months later. And so we see the potential on the quick turnaround of a number of these items. So the distribution of hydroponic systems, backyard kits in the thousands is what we plan to do over the next several weeks and months throughout all of the constituencies. So I've spoken to most of the members of Parliament, certainly all the members from the Progressive Liberal Party, most of the members directly from the governing side, that we can collaborate with them. More importantly, we've spoken to farmers associations. And so that dialogue is going on. That stakeholder is extremely important to deliver hydroponic systems, as well as we are putting in place some aquaponic systems in the schools to serve the surrounding communities with technical information on how they can start their own. We're also bringing in layer birds. The goal is to help existing egg producers to upscale their operation to meet the demand. Eggs is one of the, in fact, it is the 16th item in the agriculture basket that has the greatest potential for us to produce locally, and we believe we can be self-sufficient in less than 36 months in eggs. So those are some of the dimensions of the program going forward.
Well, I tell you what, I mean, you mentioned some key words there when we talk about self-sufficiency. And then, of course, food security. I mean, again, there are producing nations around the world that are known for certain things. But when we talk about food security, for us being such a large importer of everything that we need, what exactly does that mean? And then, you've gone into depth about some of the things that we can do to become self-sufficient, but what would be the classical definition for a country like the Bahamas? And then attached to that, what would be kind of those sensitive products that, we talk about these 14 sensitive products, but what would be the ones that you are focused on for local production?
Well, again, we are plugged into, that is the ministry, into a global network of agriculture professionals. So just last week, I pinch hit for the Minister of Agriculture from St. Vincent and was the chair for the meeting held with IECO, which is the agriculture arm of the Organization of American States. And all of the ministers in the Caribbean, a part of the CARICOM network, met to talk about best practices. What are we doing in our respective jurisdictions that can be benefit to each other? This was one of several meetings I've been participating in since the COVID-19 lockdown commenced. I've been speaking to the Food and Agriculture Organization, which is the largest global network that is responsible for agriculture development. It's a part of the UN system. And of course, I've had a chance to talk to my counterparts by way of the Secretariat, globally, so that you can gain insights. We've done the same thing directly with CARICOM, and we've utilized CADI, which is their research and development arm. So when we come to this discussion, we're coming against the backdrop of talking to persons in terms of what is happening globally. And we know that we are proceeding cautiously at the moment, and we're headed in the right direction. One of the things is you have to monitor the food supply chain to make sure that there are no disruptions. And so already we see internationally there are disruptions in the food supply chain, but in our conversation with the wholesalers here in the Bahamas, we recognize that we have not been impacted in the same way some other jurisdictions have. So for the foreseeable future, over the course of the next few months, we believe that we're fine. However, even if we're fine, because of the continued supply of food, it is not a good thing for a country to earn a dollar from tourism and spend 80 cents of that dollar importing the items that we consume. So food security for us really is having the appropriate amount of food required by the domestic population and those that it serves, and in this case it's 7 million tourists, but it's also having the right types of food. So the nutritional value is as important as having the quantity. So we've identified, using the Ministry of Health system in a collaborative way, what are the type foods that are needed? And then what we have done, the economist Raquel Pinder, the policy and planning team, has looked at what are the amounts of food every family needs. That has now assisted us in going to farmers throughout the country and asking them, what do you have in the field presently? And so we're asking farmers out there, let us know, what is it that you're cultivating? What livestock are you growing? What do you have in storage, dry storage, cool storage, frozen storage, so that we can determine the quantity of goods we have available to us up until July and beyond. Because we're in a position now to say to wholesalers, you don't need to import certain things. You can source it locally. We're in a position to say to government, in purchasing food items, purchase first from Bahamians, and then you can distribute through social services, private sector, to our citizens, which the Prime Minister is intent on doing to ease the pain on vulnerable Bahamians. And so, again, this is the approach that we're taking. It's important to have the data in terms of what's out there and available, and we're now actively canvassing all of our farmers, all of the persons who are into value-added foods, jams, jellies, honeys, etc. And so again, when you come back from the break, I'd be happy to basically talk to you about the sensitive foods, but let me get started. If you are interested in diversifying the economy, meeting Bahamian food security, it's important that we engage in a strategy of import substitution. Produce what you can locally so you don't have to import those items. And that is what we're committed to. We believe wholesalers, retailers will cooperate with us in reducing their imports and buying locally. It is all about 242 being supported.
Minister, certainly once we get beyond this point, once we get beyond July and the economy is rolling once again, we have to be able to maintain this momentum that I believe is going to be created, and we need to keep Bahamians shopping locally. We thank you for your leadership. We thank you for the leadership of the government. We're going to look forward to hearing more about the Food Security Task Force. We don't have time to talk about it in this particular segment. But again, thank you so much on behalf of Bahamas at Sunrise and your ministry for bringing this very important topic back to the forefront of, the crisis has played a significant role in that as well. But Minister Pintar, thank you for being here on Bahamas at Sunrise.
A pleasure. Look forward to continuing the discussion with you in the next segment when we come back on, hopefully later this week. And just want to say hello again to the Bahamas. Please stay safe, Marco City. Absolutely love you.
No doubt. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We've been with the Minister of Agriculture and Marine Resources, the Honorable Mike Pintard. We'll be right back.
The entire Colina family is safely at home. Essential workers do not have that option because the Bahamas needs them now more than ever. So my colleagues would like to say,
thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of those persons who are on the front line every day.
Thank you, essential workers.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We pray that you continue to be safe. We pray that you continue to be strong, despite of the many challenges that you all are facing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate you and we'll keep you in our prayers.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Well, it is urgent that we develop and communicate a recovery strategy so that the country and its economy may rebound more quickly. Here to talk with us about this morning, we're very happy to welcome who we call our resident economist and who Phil calls Mr. President, Gowan Bowe. He's the Chief Financial Officer with the Fidelity Group. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise, Gowan.
Morning, Star. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm well. Concerned as we look toward the future about what's going to happen, and I think many Bahamians are. We heard the Prime Minister, of course, last night speaking about the financial impact already to the country, how much money NIB has already spent to date. And I think for those of us that are paying attention, we may not want to be afraid, but we're certainly concerned about the way that we're moving forward. And then, of course, last week we got that downgrade from Standards & Poor's, cutting us from a BB plus to a BB. And this is concerning for me, especially because I'm trying to understand if the whole world is facing recession, why are we getting a downgrade? Are you able to explain?
Well, the reality is, and if we are blunt, the rating agencies suffered a tremendous amount of, I'm going to say, credibility hit back in the financial crisis in 2008. And so you are finding that they are going to be extremely conservative in terms of assessing, particularly the smaller nations like ourselves. The larger giants, they have to be very, it's a political game that they too must play. When they look at smaller countries, they had always commented that our, if you will, fundamentals were on the lower end of the investment grade. And so there was a tremendous pressure on them, I would imagine, to say that they don't want to be the last ones to say that there is, if you will, some increase in the credit risk in the Bahamas. And so unfortunate, yes, not something that we should panic over, because in reality, we have to focus our attention on, as you said in the very beginning, a strategy that will demonstrate how we intend to maneuver through this difficult time and then into the future. Because our reaction cannot be to the external forces, because they should be looking at the plans we develop internally, and most importantly, that we have our citizens themselves buy into, so that we work towards. Because in reality, if we are successful in a developed plan, then they will simply have to follow suit in terms of saying that we have actually met the objectives that we set for ourselves. So we have to be very careful not to be driven by the external forces.
And you mentioned that word plan, Darwin, and we've kind of heard you lament in the press that, we've not been following a national development plan. How do you think a national development plan would have helped us to rebound better from this?
It would have put us into the mindset of following, if you will, a strategy and a plan, and that would have had various, if you will, milestones that we would have been measuring ourselves against. As we continue to, if you will, just float through our economic turmoil as it currently stands, the National Development Plan had set out several components and elements that we would have, over the next 25 years, been looking to implement, but it would have meant that we would have had very immediate steps being taken, very medium steps being taken, and then ultimately long-term steps. And so if we had got into a mindset, if you will, of working through the immediate steps, it would have then allowed us to say, well, when we look at our medium-term goals and long-term goals, those may need to have been adjusted, but we would already have been, if you will, in the process of implementing, if you will, long-term objectives. And so a goal without a plan is just a wish, Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. And if our goal is to be prosperous, our goal is to make sure that our people live a quality lifestyle, but we don't have, I'm going to say, a methodical plan that they can understand things that are being done both on the government side as well as private sector side, then it becomes a bit difficult for persons to buy into.
Okay. As we talk about an idea of, we had a national development plan that had gone through significant groupings and met with various people a few years ago. And as we talk about now a recovery plan for our nation, we've heard talks about a new economic council and people that will be advising the government on steps forward. Who are some of the key stakeholders that we need to consider in that recovery plan?
Well, I think what's going to be very important is understanding that you have the right experience and expertise. And experience and expertise are two different things. What you do want is experience, meaning those persons who will have been through recessions that the Bahamas itself has seen before, meaning in the financial crisis, the Gulf Wars that we've had, 9/11, etc. So that those are persons who can tell you some of the missteps and challenges that we had when thinking about government stimulus and how effective it can be and how difficult it can be to get money in the hands that you want. Expertise in terms of those who have, I'm going to say, an analytical background, whether it be the accountants and economists, that, if you will, provide a stabilizing force. Economics is an emotional topic, and when you start talking about stimulus, everyone's immediate default is, well, how does it impact me? And so, you have a natural bias in terms of looking out for your own interests and those that you know. Whereas having the expertise and those with the right skill sets, they can say, well, I understand various driving forces, but this is the impact of moving this lever versus the other lever. And so ultimately, I think for the country, what's most important is understanding how we intend to move through it. And there are three phases. There's really this initial phase that we're in, which is the lockdown, trying to, if you will, protect our health and our lives in the sense of taking steps to make sure our healthcare system is as strong as it can be, and making sure that our people can remain fed throughout this time. So it's really about sustenance for the general population, and that has a cost. Certain persons can absorb it, certain can't. Secondly, it's about a methodical plan in terms of what you open in a healthy way, but more importantly, what are those industries and sectors that will get the most people employed and operating, so that we have that, if you will, the self-prophesying cycle, that self-perpetuating cycle that says that as people are employed, they spend. As they spend, more businesses can open. As businesses open, and more people are employed, and then the circle continues. And then thirdly, the long-term, if you will, recovery strategy that says, how do we bring our economy back to where it once was? And it may not be, there may be a new normal, because we had a new normal out of 2008. But if we say the new normal, we need to have, if you will, a vision for what that is going to look like, given that social distancing and the way we interact and the way our primary customers, the 7 million tourists that used to visit our shores, how they will react is going to be a large determinant on how prosperous we are, and whether we have to look for a new export good or service.
We do have to go, Gowan, but before we do, I just did bring up tourism, and I wanted to bring that up again. You know, I've never realized the linkages connected to tourism until this moment, and how much of our businesses are actually directly impacted by tourism dollars. Is there anything that we can do quickly, or how quickly do you think we will be able to rebound in terms of the tourism sector itself? And is that the way that we want to continue to move forward?
You know, I think that there has to be an appreciation that what tourism represented was an export service for us that allowed us to expand our domestic market from the 400,000 people to the 7 million plus that we exported to. So when we start talking about what is an alternate tourism, it is not an easy switch. So no, there is not a quick alternate, because that was our primary source, and it is going to be the natural resources that we have the most abundance of. And so therefore, that is going to be our prime export for the time being. However, I think we need to start thinking about how do we create new industries that allow us as Bahamians to export to the world, so that we can look at new markets and be able to generate foreign currencies to help us balance our economy. So not an easy road ahead of us. I think ultimately it is one that we just have to remain steadfast, but more importantly, we have to be collective. And I think partisan colors need to be put down, and we need to have a national recovery plan, not different plans being generated by different sectors of the society.
All right. Well, I think that's the perfect way to end, the perfect note to end. I will tell you, I do not have the stomach for politics at this time. I just don't think it's going to be helpful, and it's something that I believe, and I have to agree with you. We have to put aside in order to do what's best for the nation. So, Cowan, thank you so much for joining us this morning. All our thoughts and prayers with you and all the other stay-home parents at this time. And we'll chat with you another time.
Take care.
Thank you. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
The entire Colina family is safely at home. Essential workers do not have that option, because the Bahamas needs them now more than ever. So my colleagues would like to say,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you to all of those persons who are on the front line every day.
Thank you, essential workers.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We pray you continue to be safe. We pray you continue to be strong, in spite of the many challenges that you all are facing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We truly appreciate you and will keep you in our prayers.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh. Good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. The future is indeed now. Telemedicine is a topic. Telemedicine is the practice of using technology to deliver medical care at a distance. Of course, it's been in full effect for a very long time now, including at our local doctor's hospital. We're very pleased to be joined this morning by Dr. James Ifrenta, Emergency Medical Specialist at Doctors Hospital Health System, and Dr. Sheena Antonio Colley, Internal Medicine Specialist. Doctors, good morning and welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning, Bahamas.
I won't say that this will become, the new normal as we've been talking about all show, the entire show, but certainly it's a step in the right direction. When we talk about telemedicine, specifically, Dr. Ifrenta, Dr. Colley, what does it mean from your perspective?
Well, telemedicine, or as we call it, telehealth, is the delivery of healthcare using video or teleconferencing. That type of care can be delivered to patients to even up to the level of examining patients virtually. So it has evolved into a quite detailed and extensive type of delivery of care. And as you mentioned, we at Doctors Hospital, we have been using telehealth for a few years now. And Dr. Friend has been very instrumental in development of that proponent of our healthcare delivery.
And then when we talk, Dr. Ferrenta, about telehealth, telemedicine, obviously there are two participants. There's the doctor and then there's the patient. Can you kind of guide us a little bit on what it is that each party has to know and do when we talk about telemedicine?
So when we started this a few years ago, it was so much more complicated. Right now, it's as simple as making your morning cup of coffee. The doctor and the patient would have been known to each other. That's a basic requirement. We cannot perform telehealth or telemedicine if they're not personally known. So these are patients that would have been in my practice, would have been in doctor's hospital practice, would have been in a colleague's practice. So we have their demographics. We have the 3 identifiers that are essential to identify them so we know who we're working with. Once that ground rule is set, then it's a question of either party reaching out. The patient who requires the service or the doctor who intends to render the service. At this moment, we're using software that's part of the Google platform, which is encrypted on both ends. We set up the appointment and the email is sent out, and at the appointed time, sort of like this morning with you, the 2 people come to the appointment through the wonder of the internet, and the care is administered.
When you say the care is administered, what types of illnesses or concerns would apply best for delivery of this type of healthcare?
So it's clearly not for emergencies. Not for emergencies. Anything that you think is an emergency is not a telehealth, and you won't get an appointment for it. But patients who are established patients of a practice or physician who need follow-up, they've had medication prescribed, they need a new prescription, they've had blood work or lab tests done that need to be discussed, they need to be referred for further follow-up with the physician or another physician. Post-op patients, I'm a wound care specialist. Sometimes I will see patients and I need to see the wound in 5 days. And we also have the ability in the right circumstances to reach out and look into the ears, the eyes, the nose, the mouth, if the utilizer, on the other hand, has that technology available. So there's a number of instances where it's clinically appropriate.
Dr. Colley, do you think this, well, not a new approach, obviously, to healthcare, but do you feel as though the telemedicine allows for an expanded reach in terms of how doctors can obviously contact patients, and in particular, for an archipelago like the Bahamas, do you see this as being beneficial?
Absolutely, especially with our archipelago, and like I said, we've been using telehealth even internationally. But for the Bahamas, I think it's going to be something very fruitful and very, it will definitely expand the way medicine is delivered in the country. For instance, I have several patients on the Family Islands that I'm now able to contact without them having to get on a flight to come to Nassau just to review their results or just to and we are going into the future with this because of the expansion and be able to examine the patient even in the right setting, as Dr. Ferranda said, without the need for a facility. It can be done in the comfort of your home. So definitely this is going to be the way forward, because I think once people are happy with this platform and the way we're using it, I think many people will continue to use it this way. Also, too, you're at your office and you just can't get away to your doctor's appointment. You can have a telehealth appointment. So there's many different ways. You're traveling and you still want to have your appointment, but you're going to be somewhere else. You can still have your appointment. So definitely, this will definitely change the dynamics of healthcare. I think it will definitely improve the way it is delivered because of the improved access.
I would imagine, in addition to the improved access, is probably a reduction in costs, even in terms of costs that incurred if you had a patient on the Family Island as opposed to the travel that would be necessary. Are there any other aspects of costs that you think that might be impacted by telemedicine? It does sound like a really good opportunity for a lot of people who otherwise would have been unable to even move.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Overall, I think the visits are definitely less costly than an inpatient or in-person visit that is. Also, the decreased cost of transportation will definitely improve the financial aspect of it, the economic aspect of it. Like I said, so I think overall people will, I think, really benefit from this delivery of care, and we're looking forward to expanding it even more.
All right. Dr. Parenta, I'll give you the last question. Just piggybacking off of what Dr. Colley just said, do you see this as the future of most medicine, of all medicine, or some combination thereof?
So the future is definitely here, and the future has commenced at Doctors Hospital. Multidisciplinary consultations internationally, where we have complex patients that may be family island patients who are located on a family island where there's broadband internet access, who we've shared their medical records with a physician anywhere in the U.S., actually anywhere in the world, and they're now coming to a similar environment as we are working from this morning. They have not left, in many cases, the comfort of their home. In some cases, they have to go to a clinic to meet their local physician, who will also be a part of that teleconference. And all the specialists will be sharing information, and we will reach a consensus on the care of that patient remotely. The patient then has given a decision whether there will be need to travel, where they will travel to, the day they will travel, what will happen, and the follow-up will be in the same vein.
All right, great, excellent. Dr. Sheena Antonio Colley, Dr. James Parenta, thank you so much for being here on Bahamas at Sunrise virtually. I think we could get used to this.
Yeah.
I can, for sure.
Yes.
All right, great. Hopefully we'll see you again real soon. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
One thing, two things, good thing, all things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
That's going to do it for us, and so we're grateful that you're back during the second half of our show. We still got some more to come, and of course, I'm Anastasia Felicius. We're here on our Bahamas at Sunrise Zoom Live, Phil.
Zoom Live, and I'm Philip Simon. Listen, I was still having conversations. You know, that's the thing. You can get so distracted sometimes with these Zoom Lives. I was still talking to Minister Pintard. After we finished the segment, he sent me something. You know, they've been doing a lot of work, a lot of research. We talk about the top 25 chilled food products with the highest potential for import substitution. He talked about the fact that, 80 cents of every dollar leaves the country. I mean, and it's very important. So some of the food products that they've identified for import substitution, and they are liaising with the farmers about lettuce, and obviously when we talk about import substitution, the value in dollars is over $7.5 million if we were producing that here locally. You have mushrooms, you have oranges, you have limes, you have bananas, you have grapefruit, strawberries, avocados, plantains. So this is a part of, their push within the Ministry of Agriculture and Marine Resources to kind of reduce our import food bill, and also hopefully going forward to become a sustainable item on our list of production.
Yep, certainly. It was a great conversation that you had with him. And of course, looking forward to some more good conversations this morning. We're actually going to be talking with Providence Law about the law behind the Government's Emergency Powers Act and their ability to kind of tell us to stay home and why they have that power. So that's going to be a great conversation.
Yeah, and you've got some superstars, media superstars along with yourself. That should be an interesting conversation as well. Of course, they're on the front line. I mean, absolutely on the front line. It's good to have their perspective of exactly what is happening, how the government has been responding, how we as a people have been responding. So I think that should be a really nice segment start.
I agree. I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to bring that segment to you right after we take a second look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at sunrise. Brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Star, and good morning, Bahamas. Just a second look at weather. Sunrise, weakening high pressure across the islands will make way for a cold front to move into the extreme northwest Bahamas late tonight, early tomorrow morning. That will increase our cloudiness, showers, and possible thunderstorms over the northwest Bahamas tonight into tomorrow, and that should spread into New Providence area sometime by tomorrow morning during the morning hours. In the marine forecast, we do have a caution posted over the northwest Bahamas. Winds south to southwest at 15-20 knots, seas 4 to 7 feet. Over the northwest Bahamas, southeast to south at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet. Over the central and southeastern islands. On Tuesday, those winds become southwest to west at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet. The northwest Bahamas, south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet. Over the central and southeastern islands. On Wednesday, those winds become more easterly at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet. Over the northwest Bahamas, northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots, sea 2 to 4 feet, or the central and southeastern islands. Your tide just had a high one at 7:03 this morning. Net low tide at 1:18 this afternoon. High gain this evening at 7:26. Sunset 7:35 this evening. Rising more at 6:42. UV index 9. Your water temperature 78 degrees Fahrenheit. And the moon fade now moving towards the new moon. Standard look, expect some cloudiness tomorrow with showers and possible isolated thunderstorms from the northwest Bahamas, lovely over the central and southeastern islands. And then by Wednesday and the Thursday, expect partly sunny skies and hot. Yes, the temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s to low 90s at daytime and the upper 70s at nighttime. That puts up in your phone. Look at weather at sunrise. I'm got to go inside. Bahamas the sun will be back after a short commercial break.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First Insured drivers in New Providence, every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want First Response on your side, call 321-FIRST or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First Response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Thank you so much, Godfrey. Well, as you know, the world in the Bahamas is facing an unprecedented crisis. How are we responding as a nation? Well, we've gathered some keen minds in media to give us their thoughts on how it's going out there. Joining us via Zoom, we're very happy to welcome Jerome Sawyer, a veteran journalist, talk show host with On the Record. We've got C.A. Nuri. He's a blogger and political pundit, very popular, of course, in that online space. And Nahaja Black, radio talk show host from the hit Black with Nahaja Black, and a new mom. I don't know if she's been a mom for, a new mom again for more than 2 weeks, but she's here with us this morning. Of course, she's not sleeping, so why not be on Bahamas at Sunrise?
Why not?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Morning.
Yeah, a pleasure to have all of you with us. Jerome, I want to get right into it and find out from you. You know, you've been on the front line of press coverage for this pandemic. Things have changed in our nation, and it seems like it's happening very, very quickly here and around the world. How did it feel at the beginning of this, which was about a month ago, and how does it feel now?
In a word, surreal. I used to say that I've covered everything in my career, everything on the planet I thought in my career, until now. When it started out, it seemed as if it was something, it was almost like a tidal wave, so to speak. We saw it coming. There was really nothing we could do but prepare. At the very beginning, I think we were panicked in many ways because we didn't know what to expect. We saw what was happening in places like Italy. At that point, New York was just entering the surge. And so in many ways, we were just very terrified about the unknown. I think since then, some of our fears have been quieted a bit, some. But as the numbers continue to grow and as the death toll grows, I think it's brought a different reality to us. In the beginning as well, I don't think we took it as seriously as we should have. I think we were moving around and doing things for quite some time, thinking that it was just something that was happening elsewhere, and it wasn't really going to get to the same magnitude or reach to this stage. But once the numbers started rolling in and once people started connecting with those who were in quarantine, those who had been diagnosed, and then worse, those who had passed away, the reality of it really began to set in. This morning, we're doing this interview by Zoom. Mm-hmm. That's such a different reality. I never thought that in my lifetime, things that I saw in movies and on television, I would actually live to experience. Long lines at grocery stores, people walking around wearing masks. Sometimes I'm driving to the studio and the roads are empty. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, you've lived long enough to see this happen. And sometimes it's frightening even for me. So I know members of the public out there are terrified on days. And so what we all try to do as much as possible is to just reassure people that it's going to be okay. We're going to get through this, and just be calm. Listen, take the advice, and remain calm.
And CA, obviously, you know, you have a great following online, getting a lot of very real-time perspectives from Bahamians. How do you think we've been responding to the change?
Well, change is hard for everybody. And just like any place around the world, the Bahamas does not like change. But we have embraced what is happening. I've seen people have made adjustments. We are social distancing. It may have taken some time, but we are social distancing. You see everybody is wearing masks. You see they are wearing gloves. They are following the rules and regulations in terms of curfew and the lockdown period. So in the main, we have embraced a change. I think we have accepted that this is a new order that we're living in, that moving forward it won't be the same. And we are just now absorbing and following direction from the government as how will we be living moving forward for the next few months and then on to next year. So we have adopted change. There will be some pushback here and there in regards to civil liberties, and that should be expected. That should be embraced. We are ontologically Americans, so freedom and liberties means a lot to us. My forefathers fought for freedom, and the idea that you're limiting the freedom that we fought for, which is a part of my culture, that I can say what I want to say and do what I want to do, and now you tell me that I cannot. You need to explain it to us in detail and have us understand that it's for the greater good, that we are separated now in order to be together tomorrow.
All right. I heard, I think it was the Prime Minister of Jamaica who said that sometimes in the Caribbean we think of freedom as in discipline more so than what freedom is. And I see Nahaja nodding there, but Nahaja, I wanted to ask you, in New Zealand they're reporting a sharp decline in cases, and it's been about halfway through a month during their lockdown. They're not only containing the virus, but they've also been eliminating it. And of course, their president is a female. Any thoughts on that? And then the fact that where we've seen, I guess, kind of the most progressive steps toward either eliminating this virus or containing it have been led by female groups. Does that matter at all?
Well, I love that you gave me this question, right? Because of course, the female, of course, me being female, I want to just scream and say, of course, we're going to do it. We're going to stunt a little better than others, right? But there is something to be said with the fact that we have seen in Iceland, they've done the same. They have, with their female prime minister, Catherine, whose last name, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce, but in New Zealand, in same thing within Germany with Angela Merkel, you're seeing a progressive trend. And I think there is something to be said with how females approach challenges. We are very much focused and driven. As there's a problem, we get into a critical mindset of how do we deal with this problem. We gather as much information. There isn't as much ego as there is just problem solving. We found that even in the global financial crisis in 2008, countries that were led by women and companies, CEOs, hedge fund companies that were led by female CEOs found that they were not in that sort of crisis that those led by men were. Is this a debate on male versus female leadership? Perhaps some can even go there. I would say it's definitely worth something looking at the way we tackle challenges. But there is no grounds, I think, with our empathy, with our compassion, 2 to 3%, like Dr. Oz said, is not an option for us and people dying when we believe we can solve the problem. There will never be a fight with us with science and, this weird stuff on, conspiracy theories, because to become a leader, you had to beat the status quo. To become the prime minister, you had to crash the glass ceiling. You cannot go by conspiracy theories, but what you know. Is it more difficult for women to win in leadership positions in politics? Yes. How do we deal with that? We have to be pragmatic. So there is a different style of leadership, and I think we look at a problem, and pardon me, in particular with New Zealand, the prime minister, her thing was, look, we can't do containment. That's what they're trying to do in Western nations. We need to eliminate. How do we eliminate the coronavirus? They've been very aggressive in testing. They've been very aggressive with separation and lockdown, doing things that we have done, but we have lagged on testing. So they have decided, and they rightly so with other countries that have done well, we need to do both. We can't be half-hearted on one side versus the other. So there is a difference with the way women lead, I believe. And I can't wait to see how we lead in our country someday soon.
All right. I'm here for that. What I will say is that I have noticed that there are many women on that health team that are advising, of course, the Minister of Health and our Prime Minister. And so I think some of the progress, obviously, we give them kudos for that. And then certainly we do know that some of the Minister's Acts and Communication team, again, made up of women. And so while they're not yet at the form we may want them to be, they're certainly playing an active role. Jerome, just let us know, anything else making the news headlines or even, and I hate to say it this way, worthy of news? Are people concerned about it this time besides COVID-19?
Locally, probably not. What I find interesting is that, and I really have to say this, that Bahamians, I think, we find humor in so many ways. We find ways to amuse ourselves. At the most serious times, the most serious topics, we will find a way to smile and laugh and make each other smile. And I want to use that to say and to speak to the kind of people we are. I mean, news is something that we, myself and others, live, eat, breathe, every day as long as we're awake for the most part. And when you look at the Bahamian context, particularly with this, Bahamians are very in tune to what's happening elsewhere in the world. The minute there's a trial drug, the minute there's a question about testing, the minute there is the minute there's something happening elsewhere in the world, I get messages, Facebook, WhatsApp. People start asking me questions instantly. Oh, ask the Prime Minister this, ask the Minister of Health that. What about this? How are we with borders? Where are we doing with this? We are very tuned into this story. Okay. But as tuned in as we are, we still find ways to find humor in things that we do. And that really makes me smile internally and externally, because it tells me no matter how bad it gets and how frustrated we are, look for the memes, look for the voice notes, look for the songs, look for the things that we're posting out there to keep each other going. And I don't even think we realize how ingrained that is in our culture. We are people who are very focused on news. We always know what's going on. Now, we interpret it differently, but like this, we know what the rest of the world is doing, and we either want to see the things that are working implemented here. Naja would have just said it, we're looking elsewhere in the world, looking at women, how they're leading this elsewhere. But also we're looking at things that aren't working in other places in the world, and we're saying, hey, we definitely don't need that in the Bahamas. So to answer your question, no, nothing else is going on for us as far as we're concerned. We're in this. When are we going to open up the economy? When are we going to be able to move around freely? That's all we're interested in. What are we doing? Testing. Stay indoors. You see people pushing the messages. Sometimes people are pushing back. People still buying liquor and doing things. So,
liquor was something that I was hoping we'd
we can get that. 24 hours today, we in COVID mode, COVID-19 mode. That's it. Nothing else.
Well, I will say this much, that the Prime Minister's voice note now, of course, is going around, as I'm sure you would have seen, where's your heart? And I can tell that certainly the three of you, your heart is
my staff even made a meme of me about that. When Jerome, when I come to work and Jerome, when I come to work.
Bless your heart, Jerome, let people off. Indeed, we know that your heart is with the Bahamian people, so we want to thank the three of you for keeping us abreast and doing your part, of course, to spread the right messages. Thanks so much for joining us here on Bahamas at Sunrise. And of course, we want our followers to pay attention to you in the way that you're covering these stories, bringing us the best information. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be back with more Bahamas at Sunrise right after this commercial break.
One thing, two things. Good thing, all things. Things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
a Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
The entire Colina family is safely at home. Essential workers do not have that option because the Bahamas needs them now more than ever. So my colleagues would like to say,
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you to all of those persons who are on the front line every day.
Thank you, essential workers.
Thank you.
We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
We pray you continue to be safe. We pray you continue to be strong despite of the many challenges that you all are facing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate you and will keep you in our prayers.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of Bahamas at Sunrise, of course, coming live via Zoom. There are some technical challenges, and so that interview with Mary Storr will still happen, and we're going to bring that to you on Friday. Phil, it's been another great show.
Another great show from the comfort of our living rooms, at least my living room.
Yeah, I'm in the guest room this morning, and just praying my daughter doesn't get up before this call ends. So we are going to say a good day to all of you, and we will be back with more Bahamas at Sunrise on Friday.
That's right. Remember, there is still a curfew. See you soon.
Do not leave unless it's absolutely necessary, right?
Bye.
Take care. Make it a wonderful week. Bye.